Hello, hello. Good afternoon. My name is Ken, and I'm going to be talking about how to scale a fully remote company. Now, if I'm being honest, actually, the topic is a bit bigger than that. I'm going to share with you from my personal experience as a nomad, actually as a nomadic family traveling with my wife and 2 kids, how I infused the lessons I learned as a nomad into the businesses that I have been involved with and achieved some really powerful results. So with that said, let me set the stage a little bit and tell you about Hotjar. Hotjar, I joined it in 2016 as a member of their executive team. I was the 14th person in the company and became their chief operating officer. We scaled Hotjar to 400 people. Is installed on more than 1.3 million websites, fully remote, 0 offices, team members spread throughout the world. And this success led to so much attention, so much virality. It was an incredible brand to be a part of, and we attracted a lot of attention. And ultimately, we attracted a suitor, a company that was well-funded as a competitor, and we decided to take an exit from, and Hotjar was sold. Throughout that aspect, I was also introduced to the founders of another fully remote company, a company called Hostaway. And I joined Hostaway 2 years ago as their COO, and to say the last 2 years has been a rocket ship would be an understatement. It's been an incredible journey. I love my job. It's also near and dear to my heart because it's travel-oriented business dealing with vacation rentals. And the last year, to give you an idea as to the growth we've experienced as a fully remote business, we now have over 300 people in the company. Last year, we took on an investment of $365 million, and we became the first unicorn in our industry. We're the first company as a fully remote company, no offices, to achieve a valuation of over $1 billion. And we were named to Deloitte's Fast Technology 50 list. Now, I don't share those results to try to impress you. I share those to set the stage because the scaling experience that was achieved here was also noticed and replicated in 3 different books. And the greatest thing that I get to do is also go to events like this and share and meet with other thought leaders and individuals like yourself who inspire me. But the reality of it is none of this success would not have been possible had it not been balanced by my personal life. You see, in 2014, I was living in Seattle with my wife and 2 kids. It's my family here. This is not your normal family picture because this is the day we left Seattle and began a nomadic journey. It's my daughter, Ella, in the front, my son, Tag, in the back, hiding behind his sister. My daughter was 8, my son was 5, and we packed that Toyota Highlander to the gills. It was just packed up, and we drove from Seattle all the way down into Central America. We drove it through every single country in mainland Central America, living throughout there for 2.5 years. I was working for Hotjar. My wife was schooling the kids, and incredible journey. After 2.5 years in Central America, we decided we wanted to keep this thing going. We were learning and growing so much and getting so much out of it, we decided to jump across the pond, and we traveled throughout Europe and Africa. The kids got older. It's amazing what happens. And we began to keep traveling and learning. My kids now have been raised in more than 40 different countries. We've experienced and thrived so much as a family, and all this time while also building and scaling a remote-based business. And so what I want to do here for the remaining time is tell you about the lessons learned and how they're fused together, because what I learned across my journey, what many of you have already learned, are the skills that are needed and necessary to scale a remote-based business, whether you're just getting started or you already have a team and you want to grow and flourish it. These skills are pivotal to building culture, and which ultimately good culture leads to those great results. Sound good? All right. Lesson number 1, be frugal, not cheap. Now, this is something a lot of people get confused by because they kind of sound like synonyms, but they're not at all. Being frugal is about being smart, practical, applying critical thinking to the money that you're spending. You're not just trying to get the cheapest solution and save every nickel and every dime. You'll spend the money where it's needed, and you need to put that thought process to work. I'm going to give you a really great example. If you ever walk into a Lego store and you see some random kid laying there on the ground, walk around him. This is my son, Tag. Okay? This is in a Lego store in Prague, and no matter where we went, we would always go to a Lego store. Both my kids love Legos, and my son would always, nevertheless, end up on the ground like this. So this day we're in Prague, and he's just laid down on the floor looking at this box. Takes it off the shelf, turns it around, puts it back on the shelf, pulls it back off, turns it around, keeps looking at it, and half an hour goes by, and he comes back and says, all right, Dad, I'm ready to go. And I said, hey, buddy, well, what was going on over there? Did you want to buy that Lego set? The set you've got in your pack you've had for 3 years. You've got money saved up. Is that set you wanted to buy? No, I'm good. Well, why is that? That's just, I'm all right. I'm good. No. Why? You just sat there for half an hour and looked at that thing. And he said, well, it's not as good as the one I have in my pack. I was playing with it in my head, Dad, and it's just not as cool as the one I've got. And my mind was blown, right? He deconstructed this set in his head, built it, played with it, and it's not as cool as the one he's got back at the apartment we were at in Prague. And he made a rational decision that not just for the spending of the money, but also the spending of the space, because he knew that if he got this set, he was going to have to get rid of the other set. And he made a rational trade-off and decision. Now, we have to do that in business constantly. And I'll give you a really strong example. The brands, Hostaway and Hotjar, have these logos. Now, there's a lot of aspects, a lot of thought. Earlier, we had a talk. Novella was talking about logos and how they can be part of your brand. Well, don't overthink it was part of his message, and I fully lean into that. This Hotjar logo costs 99 cents. The founders said, hey, what's a really cool thing? Oh, flame. Oh, we can license this flame perpetually for 99 cents, and we can throw it on top of this logo, and they called it done. The Hostaway logo. That logo is the same logo that Hostaway's had for 10 years. It's $1 billion logo as far as certain points could look at it. It costs $5. The founders put $5 on Fiverr.com, bought the logo, done. That's being frugal. It's about spending the money where it matters. Because they save so much money on decisions like that and time, we had the money then to invest to hire the talent that made sense, to pay the hosting bills that we needed to. That's being frugal and not cheap. Next up, usually, not always, work remotely. Now, obviously, if you look around here, this is a physical conference. It's very obvious. Why are we here? The physical being and essence of humans is natural and needed even when you work remotely. And when we were traveling family. Last year, we went camping in Sweden. My wife and kids jammed into this camper and very small space, but we weren't alone. We were camping with 150 other people that were traveling families, part of our clan, part of our people. And we came together, and this is organized annually because it's a great time to come together and bond and build just like an event like this. And that's not the only time we've done it. We've done it skiing. We've done it in the Maldives. And you might say, well, wait a minute, Ken, the Maldives and skiing, that sounds expensive. Is that frugal? No, it actually builds on top of each other because that's Bansko, Bulgaria, right? Great hub for nomads, but also a great hub for traveling, economically minded families. And the Maldives is known to be one of the more expensive places around, but not if you do it right. Right? One of our friends found a locals island, and this is the people who work for the resorts. They live on their locals islands. About half the islands in the Maldives are with locals, and there's a hotel there. It's not a resort that's fancy, but we rented out the entire hotel, great economic savings in price, and came together and experienced awesome stuff with awesome families. Now, you need to apply this in your work setting too. And so every year, at least once a year, every single person in Hostaway has a chance to have an annual meetup where we bring team members together. We did it in Barcelona, Sri Lanka, Austin, Croatia, and this year we're doing it in San Antonio right now, this next week. And we do this all over the place, all over the planet. We bring our team together because there's nothing at the end of the day that builds those bonds better than being able to shake someone's hand, have a beer, give them a hug, play a game. Super important for those human connections, but you can usually are working with them remotely. So that's lesson number 2. Lesson number 3, standards are imperative. They are required. Now, some of you might think, well, that sounds a bit bureaucratic or not free enough. No, take a look around. As we travel everywhere, you don't get to decide what the electrical plug is going to look like when you come to Thailand, right? There's a plug there. You don't get to decide the currency. There's a standard currency, standard SIM card providers. There's aspects around us that is standardized so that we know how to function. And that's super important to make sure you realize, respect, and in the workplace, as you scale, you need to have these in place to be able to reinforce how to get things done. So at Hostaway, we don't care where you work. We usually don't care when you work. But we do care how you communicate because it's a way to keep us all on the same page. So we have strict communication guidelines that we ask everybody to adhere to. So we're big Slack users, and we have a particular prescriptive way that we want everybody using Slack, because if we're all using Slack together, we're all efficient. We all know how to find and navigate communication. So as you're scaling, be sure and define what your standards are, what your non-negotiables are, and where your freedom is, so that you have that balance. Next up, transparency. Next lesson that I love. Transparency. When we were traveling, here's my kids. We shared everything, right? Here they are sharing the same tablet, watching a show. We would share the same space. I'd be working in one aspect of the Airbnb, and right across the living room, they're doing schooling and the same thing. So we knew everything was out in the open. We knew when one person was having a good day or a bad conversation or a good class or what have you was going on. And we leaned into this as parents too. We wanted our kids to know everything about the travel. We wanted them to know what was safe, what was not, why it was unsafe, what was going on, different aspects of everything, because we believed, and still do, that we're building a global citizen with these kids, and they are now super equipped travelers because we've always laid it out there with them, and it's made them resilient. The workplace also transcends this. At Hostaway, we have core values, and we really, really embrace them. And one of our core values is transparency. We believe, and there's a lot of research behind this as well. A lot of research talks about how remote workers actually are more likely to have imposter syndrome than others. And why is that? It's because you don't see people, you don't get as much visible feedback from the nonverbals. But when you break down those walls and you make everything available, you begin to level the field. We don't operate in a way at Hostaway that there's a need to know environment with firewalls between teams and departments. We believe everybody at some point in time might need to know, so why put the barriers in place? And we reinforce this constantly. We want everything out in the open so that everybody can navigate to it. And with the standards I talked about before, really helps to facilitate all of that. Being flexible. Now, As nomads, we experience this, and as entrepreneurs, you have to be flexible and expect the unexpected. But let me give you a couple of aspects here. We decided we were going to go to our next country was going to be Fez, Morocco. And the family was traveling different schedules for different reasons. I flew into Fez before the family as advanced place. I needed to find a place for 5 people because we also had another family member traveling with us for a while. I had to find a place for 5 weeks for 5 people. Stayed in a hostel for a couple of days, start popping all around town, inside the Medina, outside the Medina. I'm looking for a place, and couldn't find a place that really fit us and that really worked for us. It was either too far away or too crowded or smelled funny or you name it. And so finally I asked the guy running the hostel, Yusuf, do you don't happen to know of any place that would service 5 people for 5 weeks? And he says, well, let me think about it. Yeah, I think I have a place for you in my family palace. What? Family palace? He's like, yeah, I'm the caretaker. In addition to the hostel, I have this business, and I'm a caretaker for my family's palace. His family has the largest private palace in Fez. Had I not been flexible and pre-booked this thing, I never would have wandered into this fact that Yusuf had this palace. 3 days later, my family arrives, and I'm like, hey, I got the place. And literally, we stayed for 5 weeks in this amazing palace and met these amazing people. I'm still very connected with them. And so by being flexible, by not having this uber discrete plan as to what we're going to do and only knowing what the next step is, really unveils so much serendipity and so much aspects. At Hostaway, we do the same thing. We have a North Star. We know what goals we want to do. We know what mountains we want to conquer, what competition we want to crush, how this, that, and the other, but we don't know how we're going to get there. We have ideas, we have hypotheses, but every single week we are launching more and more and more updates. This is a snapshot of our change log, and it's public, and it's available, and our customers can see it. And it's all of the things we're releasing because we're transparent, but we don't necessarily know what's coming 2 months from now. We just know the direction we're going to go because we're responding to the feedback that we get from our customers. We see what resonates, and we let it go by always shipping and having an iterative, innovative approach to product design, delivery, and business success. All right, learning mode. Now, incredibly important to always be learning and to be pushing that in there. And I'm going to give you a really great example. We were living in Roatan, Honduras. My daughter was 10. And she says, hey, look at the scuba divers around here. Now, just so happened to be that Roatan is right on the second biggest reef system in the planet. And my daughter's curiosity was like, I wonder what they're seeing down there. And so we went over to the dive shop and found out that actually at age 10 is the youngest you can become a certified scuba diver. And only if the kid is proven to be mature enough to know not to take a mask off at, 10 meters underwater and whatnot. Well, sure enough, my daughter leaned into this. We leaned into it. My daughter became a certified scuba diver at the age of 10 in Honduras. She's now been diving for more than half her life, and she is 20 years old, studying marine biology at the University of Plymouth in the UK. Had we not embraced that, and it provided that opportunity as nomads, she probably would never be there. Now, this is a passion she has, and it's a passion for learning around this. And it's incredibly important that we also transcend that into business. The founders that built Hostaway had this great idea. We'll be the world's best channel manager. For those of you who don't know what a channel manager is, it sits in the middle of a vacation rental. So let's say you've got a property that you want to put on Airbnb. You probably also have it on like VRBO or Booking and whatnot. And a channel manager says, all right, put it on all those channels. If it's booked on Airbnb, we'll unbook it off of VRBO so you don't have double bookings, you don't have ticked off customers. And so the founders built this channel manager, and they began learning more and more about the needs of the customers. They found out that really what the customers needed was they needed a channel manager, but what they really needed was something so much bigger. They needed a full-blown property management system that told them information about their occupancy, their communications, their cleaning, their calendar, everything like that. And had they not listened and learned about the customers, the industry, and so much more, we would not have the success that we have at Hostaway. Thinking outside the box. Thinking outside the box is critical, and it's something that you always have to be questioning, thinking about. I already told you my daughter is incredibly passionate about marine biology, but when she was 16, she wanted her first job. We were living in Portugal, and she doesn't speak Portuguese. And if she did speak Portuguese, she wouldn't have found the right job that really, lit a fire underneath her. So she created her own path. She decided she had an idea, and she pitched it. She came up with the idea of, well, what if I used all this knowledge I have around marine biology, the ecosystems I've studied, the wildlife I've seen, what if I applied that to a class and made my own class? She was attending a number of different online platforms, and she went to the owner of one and said, hey, I got an idea. I could teach this class to kids 8 to 12 years old. And I know these kids, I've been around them in other platforms, and I could teach them, and you could charge for it. But I don't want the money. I'm not asking you to pay me. I just want a discount on my tuition. The owner said, yeah, that sounds good. So as a result, I had to pay less tuition as the parent, and my daughter got that savings. That's thinking outside the box. That's thinking differently, and how we operate and run remote businesses applies the same thing. Now, you can obviously tell this is me. This is me in a remote company. We had a Halloween costume contest. Somebody said, hey, let's do a costume contest. And you hear so much about in the media or the naysayers that remote work doesn't work. You can't replace what you get in an office with remote work. And I say, yeah, sure. But you can't do this in an office. Okay? What I ended up doing to pull this off is I found a green blanket in the Airbnb we're in. I wrapped myself in it, and I turned myself into a green screen. Okay? Try that in a frickin' office. Right? This is thinking outside the box and thinking differently to solve a problem. There are things that you cannot replicate with remote work if you have an office. It's the exact opposite paradigm. Both are true. Which leads me to my last point, all in or all out. When we were traveling as a family, there were 4 of us. If one of us didn't want to travel, we had to stop. Right? Because you can't just have one ticked off person in your unit all the time. So ultimately, we stopped becoming nomads. We still travel a ton, but we stopped becoming nomads because my son said, Dad, I want a dog. And dogs slow you down. So we decided, all right, he's been an awesome sport for 7 years. Let's go get a dog. And like suckers, we go to the Portuguese shelter to adopt a dog. We left with 2. Meet Oro and Loki, purebred Portuguese mutts. And we love them. They travel with us at times too. They actually have their own passports. They've been to 7 countries. And they're part of our family, but it's what stopped us in our travels. The workplace also has an all-in and all-out rule, in my opinion. And that's the work is done most optimally either 100% in the office or 100% remote. This middle island of hybrid is crap. And it's crazy. It's like trying to drink non-alcoholic beer and getting drunk. It just doesn't happen. It drives inefficiency, it fractures cultures, it totally breaks the aspects of transparency. It's either all in or all out. Both have their places. So, I'll leave you with this. If you liked what you heard, if you're curious about Hostaway, Hostaway is always hiring. We are hiring across every single department in the company. You can check out our careers pages there. You can talk to me if you're interested in more to find out what's going on. Also, I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to meet people. If there's questions that come up down the road, I'm happy to connect with that. It's my LinkedIn profile. And thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ken. Appreciate it. We're now going to prepare the stage for our little conversation.
Forward, back.
We're going to be back in 1 minute.